This is Joe Pryor of the virtualrealestateteam.com in Oklahoma City. You know, there's this thing called capitalization rate in investment that basically what it does is it takes the total amount that you have in the house, in other words, or any kind of property, and that would be not only the money out, the down payment, the closing costs, but also what you take out on a loan. And then what you do is you take your operating cost and you compute a percentage. So in other words, a real easy way to say this is you have a $100,000 investment and you have $10,000 a month after operating expenses, then you have a 10% capitalization rate. And that's kind of one of those magic numbers. Now, there's still some expenses that you have, like mortgage expense, that we do a cash on cash, but I want to really kind of talk about the cap rate right now. Not to just explain it to you, but say, you know something, I see a lot of dishonesty in cap rates. I see a lot of things on the internet that say, oh, this is an 11.5% cap rate. But when I compute it, it's about an 8% cap rate, which is still a good cap rate. But the question is, with a cap rate, what do you put into it? How honest are you being with that potential investor? And let me give you just one really big example. There was an apartment complex that was for sale online in Oklahoma City. Now, this apartment complex was pretty large at about 200 units, but it was also built in 1930. And if you drove by it and you looked at it, you went, boy, this really has a lot of deferred maintenance. Now, what I thought was a little bit strange is that this was a 10% cap rate. And I started looking at the numbers and I said, they're computing $500 a unit in terms of yearly expenses on repairs. And I went, well, that's nuts. First of all, if you're renting to someone in the $500 to $600 price range or $450 price range, you're going to get some renters that are really going to tear some things up. You're going to get a lot of turnover. You're going to get a lot of vacancy. And then if you have deferred maintenance just to start out with, in a 1930s construction, that's ridiculous. You are going to have a lot more expenses than that. And so that has to be factored in. And speaking of vacancy rate, that has to be honest too. You can't just say, oh, it's a 90% occupancy, when if you look at the rent rolls, it's a 70% occupancy. But I do see that. I see where people do not put in the numbers that's really, really important. And by the way, if I'm dealing with a $450 to $600 renter in a 200-unit apartment complex, I'm going to have extra money put in there for bad debt reserves. You know why? Because it's going to cost me every time that I have to evict someone out of that apartment, and I've got 200 of them. Now, I use the commercial as an example, but it can also go for single family. You need the kitchen sink put in there. Even if it's a brand new house, I compute some money in there every year for repairs, because 5 years down the road, you're going to be repainting the house. In 5 years, if it's carpet, you're going to be replacing the carpet. So we still need to put those numbers in there, even though it's a brand new house and maintenance is going to be lower. So the important thing about capitalization rate is not only to understand how to compute it, but also to understand not leaving important details out so that you can make something look better than it is. So when you and I get together and we talk about investment real estate, what you're going to get from me is about a 3-page document that's going to give you your cap rate, your cash on cash, your internal rate of return, and I promise you this, the kitchen sink will be in there, because you deserve no less than an honest assessment from a real estate investment professional. This is Joe Pryor of the virtualrealestateteam.com in Oklahoma City, where we deliver traditional real estate values at the speed of technology.